Good day everyone, this is Gyan. I have a storm that's coming on behind me, thunder, lightning, and today I'm going to hit a sensitive topic that the world in general faces. I watched a video of Andrew Yang that speaks at the AAPI Victory Fund Forum in Costa Mesa, CA, and it was from September 8th, 2019. Now, when I watch it, it's a 50-minute video, and at the end of the last 8 minutes, there was questions, and one lady, she stood up, and I believe she's a 19-year-old lady, and she just hit Andrew with this bomb that she was raped. I think it was 2 weeks prior to this speaking that he was at. Lost my words there. Anyway, so Andrew was standing there going, you know, like you can see, he was saying, shit, this is real stuff coming up. And this is a reality in the world that millions of children, of women and men, everyone faces. And these days, I don't want to say just women and men because there's so many different classifications. But expressions of all life is being raped on this planet that we call Earth. That is something that happens daily. In South Africa, every 27 seconds, someone is raped. That's the rape capital of the Earth. You have, out of 56 million people, 29 million people that lives in poverty. So you can imagine the abuse. And you can go to India, you can go to China, you can go to any Asian country, you can go to any Western country, you can go anywhere in the world and you will find sexual abuse of anyone doing it to anyone, family members to family members, famous people to younger adolescents. I mean, you've seen the pedophile rings, you've seen the shit that goes on in this world around sex and people abusing other people sexually. I myself was a first-hand witness to many women that came to me and shared with me their assaults that took place, rape, molestation, etc. While I was in high school, when I was 15, 16 and 17, I was basically the psychologist for dozens of women that felt comfortable enough to talk to me about the abuse that just took place last night or 2 weeks ago, or that they're stuck in a situation where they don't know how to get out, where they would go to courts, they would talk to their parents, they would share it, but no one does anything. This is the first time in my life that I really got angry at the world, because I saw a girl that got raped just 2 nights ago on the weekend, and she just shared with me this experience. And then I tell her to tell her parents, and she tells her parents, and nothing happens. She was raped by her step-brother. You know, so these things happen on a daily basis in people's homes, on the streets, in the alleys. It happens in the rich people's homes, on their islands. Rape, molestation, pedophilia, all of this is happening every single day in the hundreds of thousands. It's happening a lot. So, as Andrew Yang, when I'm president, I would introduce the freedom dividend, which creates that safety net, and not just a safety net, but a foundation for people to build their lives on. What this will create is less stress, less fear, less insecurity. It will create less competition. It will create a lot of more abundance in people's homes. And when you remove emotional stressors from people's lives, they are less inclined to act on impulse, because there's no energy buildup in them, like a lot of stress or anxiety, to want to release that energy and that anxiety on, for example, drinking a lot, or using drugs, or going and get a fight somewhere with someone, go and party hard, or rape or molestation. These are ways that people find in their life to get rid of stress and fear and anxiety. And it's usually always about the fear of the future. But that's not the only dimension. There are multiple dimensions. You also have the most obvious one, which is the media. It's our magazines. The internet is 37% porn. Sex, the internet, 37% of the whole wide internet is porn. That is a lot. So the first thing I would do after getting the freedom dividend in place and letting it at least roll for a year in society so people can save up, people can build up, and you can actually get money together, I would start implementing policies and laws that specifically focuses on removing dark web material. You need to get this shit out. It shouldn't exist on the internet. You have to get groups, people together that starts, you can get volunteers because people will now get a UBI or a freedom dividend. And if someone is well off, they have this extra money, they can volunteer to start taking on removing all the porn that is on the internet and lessening the effect that is being impulsed to children these days of 7, 8, 9. I mean, the internet, you just type the wrong thing on Google and you have porn, or on Twitter and you have porn. Porn is readily available by misspelling something. You know, when my wife was pregnant, she would look for things on pregnancy. And when she starts looking for stuff and she finds information on pregnancy, suddenly there is pregnant mothers getting screwed. Like, how did we end up there? You know, now there's a whole porn thing of that. Then it just goes deeper and deeper how easy it is to find porn. Now you can imagine with phones, with technology in everyone's hands, with children having technology available to them readily at the age of 5, 6, 7, they can just access something by accident. Never mind magazines or advertisements or the billboards I see in our streets with a woman's breasts just poking out of the new bras or bikinis going to the beach. All of these things are imprinting, impulsing society, sexuality the whole time. So we need to take responsibility for what is being impulsed and how and why through what is available to us every single day, such as the media, such as movies, such as series. And we need to realize that we're in fact brainwashing and mind controlling humans. Because you are flashing images. You've seen those cult movies and things like that where they show how someone gets brainwashed and they hold their eyes open and they just keep flashing images in front of the person for days and days and days. Well, that's happening with our phones and computers. We are literally allowing ourselves, our eyes to be kept like this, like some cult took you hostage and they're brainwashing you, and they're saying, here, porn, 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 sex, 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 sex. And you're just being brainwashed. You're being impulsed. This is constantly happening. If you want to have a great example, look at Ted Bundy, the serial killer who had so many victims, women victims. What did he do? He went into porn. Back in his day, he had to get magazines. He had to get the magazines and he had to flip through them. And he had to literally brainwash himself deliberately. Now, in today's time, you don't need to go get a magazine. You just need to open a screen. And they are everywhere. I mean, I have right here in my office 4 screens plus my phone, everyone else's phones. It's just laying around. Porn is 37% of the internet. So Andrew Yang needs to clamp down and make it a very high priority to, after the freedom dividend and many other points are resolved, to take on the internet and pornographic material that's available. Now, yes, I'm not saying porn is wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that if you have professional people that's in porn, it has to be controlled in such a way that you know a responsible person can access that. And it must only be available at one place on the internet. Because it's something that exists. Sex exists. People want to express themselves and share themselves. If you watch the old material of porn stars that quit porn, how they enjoyed it, you know. They loved making it. So you do have that other side, that little side that is not demonized, that has not become evil in this world. And we need to get rid of the 37% porn that's on the internet. If we can get rid of porn in general, that would be great. Because I and a group of my friends started a Facebook group many years ago that was called Porn Addict Support Group. We got thousands and thousands of people that was joining that Facebook group every single week. I think we were up to 30,000 people that joined that group in the end. People having porn problems. These were women, men, these were all groups of society came to this Facebook group seeking help because they were addicted to porn and they wanted to end porn. But they couldn't because it becomes an addiction. It physically becomes part of what you do. The more you do it, the more you reinforce it. And the more you reinforce it, the more it wires your body to become a physical addiction, not just a mental addiction. So addiction needs to be understood in society. And with this, people can see their thoughts leading from watching porn to starting looking at people differently on the streets. You know, so if you watch porn for 4 hours a night, which is what people share, they would watch porn for literally 4 hours a night, and then they go to work and they watch porn while they're working. Because they're just imprinting it, and they can't get enough. And when they stop watching porn, all they can see in the people around them is how they will act out what they have been watching for hours. This is how it influences full-grown adults. Imagine how it influences children who has no concept yet, who has no view of reality through a lens, meaning a morality lens of what's right and what's wrong. They just see everything as fun. Oh, let's play, you know. So children might not deliberately grow up and become a rapist because they judged what they were seeing through porn as a kid as just playing. And this is how adults manipulate children. This is how pedophilia works, manipulation, deception, and it's happening on a global scale. It's happening through our computers. It's happening through our phones. So you do have an increase of, okay, this is multi-dimensional. So this is why Andrew Yang has got the right solution. It's multidimensional in terms of the economic system in the world is slowly but surely collapsing. People are getting more stressed, more fearful, more insecure. With this, you have people participating more and more in addictive habits, which is porn. A lot of it is porn. And therefore, you have more outflows of sexual abuse. It can be the father abusing his daughter, or the mother abusing her son, or the sister and brother abusing each other. It can be aunts and uncles, it can be strangers. Because there's so much pressure in this world financially that we have so much energy inside of ourselves, fear, anxiety, name all of those negative emotions, that we need to release it somewhere. And we try and take it out on alcohol and, you know, drugs or entertainment or anything we can, but at some point realize you need more. It's the same as drugs. Once you've taken the first hit of drug, the next hit you need a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then you need something else and something better and something more. So it starts playing out into physically abusing each other. This is why you have mass shootings. This is why you have so many killings. This is why you have so many brutal deaths in this world, where people will take an axe and start slaughtering 2 or 3 people in the street, or a knife and start chopping up people running through the street. People are looking for a way out of this system. And remember, multidimensional. So I'm not just saying there's one way of fixing this, but money is a start. So we can start releasing people from the stress and fear of this system, this pressing system that's pressing down on everyone. And then we can actually start seeing what is the mental status of people when that fear and stress isn't there. And then those people have actual financial support to start seeking help. Like Andrew said, he wants to have mental and psychological help more readily available for people. And then you also have money, so you don't have to worry that much. But then there is the self-responsible point, which no one understands yet, that you can stop your thoughts. You don't have to participate in the images coming up in your head. Even if you're living on the street and completely beaten down, you don't have to go and abuse people, or you don't have to create and generate energy inside yourself. You can breathe, let it go, and check, who am I? So that's the next level, where we can all understand how our inner realities work. and then we can take self-responsibility for that. But before we can even get there on a global scale, we need to first sort out what is keeping a lid on everything from, working, and that's currently money. So this lady was looking for an answer on this speech that I was watching from Andrew Yang, from what will he do to take care of the sexual abuse going on in the LGDB, those groups. Sorry, I don't remember the names. And in general for men, women, children, etc. And Andrew, there is no one-way answer. You can't say we're gonna put everyone in prison. You can't say we're gonna bring the death penalty back, because you'll be killing half the world by the time you solve this problem in a very physical way. You will be removing so many people on a daily basis. It will be impossible to keep up, first of all. It's not a permanent solution, and it's not taking the problem to the root cause and solving it at the root cause. So I would say first we have to take responsibility for finances, and then the media. We need to see how we can clamp down on media, how we can stop impulsing sexuality through porn. The internet is 37% porn, guys. That's something that is insane. Then we have to also see how education at home. This is a very important point which Andrew Yang is focusing on. As he says, 1/3 of a child's education takes part in school. The other 2/3 is outside of school. That's at home. That's with the parents. And that is where parents need to be more involved with their children. Now, currently parents can't, because either both parents are working or both parents are so deadly stressed they can't even focus on their children, or they're doing 2-3 jobs. With a freedom dividend, the parents will have way more time to spend with their children and to actually see what's happening with them, what's going on with them, and care for their mental health, and care for what's going into their child, and making sure what's going in isn't something that they don't want it to come out. What we put in, we get out. So there is many dimensions to what the freedom dividend is going to tackle. And I could see when he answered this girl, he wanted to bring in that holistic view, but he was kind of struck by that this girl's rape happened like literally just 2 weeks ago. So it was very fresh, and he was shocked by it. And he kind of wanted to give an answer that comfort her, but to give a real answer, it would have been a holistic view answer where you say, look, we got to take on the world and what we're accepting, allowing in this world as a whole. Because what we accept and allow in one place, we accept and allow in another place. First, let's remove all the porn from the internet. When I was 13, I was only introduced to porn when I was 16. I've never seen porn in my life before, out of my own. When I was 13, I went to visit a friend, a surprise visit. I've never visited a friend before. I went to his house, I knocked on his door, and he opened his door, and I just heard these awful sounds in the background. And he just said, oh, hey, what's up, man? So he said, come in, I have some pizza. So I went in, and I see 2 computer screens with naked men and women having intercourse in weird ways with heavy sounds. That was the first time in my life I saw porn like for a minute, and I had this shock of, what the hell did I just see? I've known about sex, but I didn't experience sex yet as images the way I saw it there. And it left this feeling of dirtiness, like I was made dirty, like I just saw something that wasn't right. Now then, 3 years later, when porn came, color phones came out, everyone could have porn on phones. That's literally all we did as boys in high school. We watched porn at school. When we go to parties, we'll have a big screen TV on. We'll watch porn on the big screen while we're all drinking beer and smoking and doing all these things. And we believed that that was a manly thing to do, to watch porn, and everyone's just chill with it. Like, look, there's porn playing with music playing and beer and smoking. And porn was just this casual thing that we all just passed along, and we just watched and, just laughed at and talked about. And when you go really deep into it, what do boys talk about around each other in school most of the time? It's about relationships and sex. It's about girls. That's all you talk about. This is how the porn culture has influenced us. I grew up very isolated for the first 13 years of my life. I grew up in a very small town with only 600 people in it, and I didn't have access to much. So I never had that mindset until I moved to the city. And everyone in the city had the mindset of porn and sex the entire time. Where I was still focused on playing with Legos and playing with animals and going out into the wilderness and exploring. Everyone else was just about relationships, sex, and porn, and I'm gonna say it straight, boobs and ass and legs, and all the boys was just talking about that in the groups the whole time. It's like they had more access to internet, to computers, to technology. They had more access to magazines and shops right there at their disposal, where I didn't. So I experienced the suddenness of how men was all about sex. And if you're not cool. If you're not man enough. And I kind of felt under pressure, felt like a little bit of a loser, because I didn't have all this sexual knowledge or all this sexual things inside of me. And weird things happened. Like these guys that kept talking so much about sex and watching so much porn, they did things to girls. They pushed girls to do certain things, which I never could find inside of myself to do, because it was just not there. But I could see how they have been influenced early on, that if your mind isn't sexual, you're not a man. And I had to kind of force myself into this mindset to not be seen as an outcast and a loser and be bullied. So I started developing a mindset of sex. And I started watching porn, as I say, when I was 16 the first time, where I actually went and watched porn. Like there's porn, and it was disturbing the first time, to say the least, for myself. But then you get addicted. Then it takes your life over. And people are afraid to talk about this, but this is a very big issue. Porn addiction, and how much porn is available on the internet, and how much that influences every single human being. I'm talking men, women, today's time, children. Everyone's minds is influenced by porn. And we need to put a clamp on that. We need to stop porn as much as possible. But we cannot stop it abruptly, where it leads out to people mentally going insane and start hurting people physically because they can't get their next hit. You have to gradually cut it. First, you take out all the abuse of porn on the internet as soon as possible, please. But if there is still moderate porn that is done with consent in a very constructive way, for those true addicts, there is porn that can satisfy them, so they don't go and take out their mental points on people in their physical reality. So as I say again, this is a multidimensional point, and that you have to consider everyone and everything. Have you ever tried to take away heroin from a drug addict just like that? What do? They go steal, they go stab, they'll kill for it. So you have to gradually help people to actually physically remove addictions. You cannot just say stop porn, and boom, there it's done. People will go insane. You have to gradually do it, but you start with stopping, like when you see pedophilia, pornographic things, that has to end immediately. And then you can save a lot of children, first of all, and catch a lot of people that participate in that. And you have to stop all this crazy porn that's out there. There's a lot of crazy porn. But anyway, I don't know. I haven't searched that crazy stuff. But anyway, it's there. And you have to consider people that's in the porn industry that is currently making money and living off it. So that's where the Freedom Dividend can give them a cushion to transition from the porn industry into a different route in life. And they can see, okay, I'd rather want to do this instead of porn, because either they were manipulated into porn, forced into porn, deceived into porn, or porn was the only option because they left home too early because there was financial problems at home, there was physical abuse, rape, etc. at home. There's so many dimensions to this reality, and you can't give someone like with Andrew Yang here in this, you cannot just give one answer. It's impossible. You cannot just say this is how I'm going to solve this problem, because it's a multidimensional problem. And when we have to start with somewhere, and Andrew is right to starting with giving everyone money, implementing new policies, and from there you start assessing already what's the next points of solutions. You know, like implementing more psychological and mental health and psychiatrists for people in their neighborhoods, in their areas, where they can openly talk about their mental issues. And that's why he wants to implement a psychiatrist for the White House, because even the president has mental problems, and we all have to admit that. So it's going to be a long time before we have solutions for a lot of these things, but Andrew Yang is starting at the right place. Stress, fear, anxiety is the first points that we can alleviate from people's lives, and with that you have more clear-minded people. As Andrew Yang also pointed out, when we're under stress, fear, anxiety, and in scarcity, our IQs drop, or something drops by 13%, all right? And that's just being moderate. It can drop up to 20, 30%, depends on your situation. So once we get people to have a clear mind, and they can stop their addictions by themselves, stop watching porn by themselves, stop drinking alcohol by themselves because they feel more like they can breathe, so they can actually take care of themselves, then you can start seeing what's the next solutions. And I myself have experienced these things firsthand. I've had outrages with myself, with people. I've had fights with other guys that was being accused of being a rapist, and like physically fighting someone. I was confronting people that was apparently molesting people. I've met kids that I knew was molested by their own grandmother, and I could see their behavior changes. I mean, I've had a life of quite a colorful life growing up around these things, and people found it very easy to open up to me and talk to me about these things for some reason, but it had a heavy toll on me. I'm not a psychiatrist. I went a little bit mad. I started drinking a lot because I didn't know how to solve the problems in this world, and there's just so much. Especially when you find out that a very close person to you was molested and raped as a child when they were 6 and 7 by people they know. It breaks you. It's like, what? This happened. And it's all around us. It's not some mysterious place. It's not somewhere else. It's literally around us. And in areas of poverty, you will find that a lot of it is unreported, and it happens more frequently because people have nothing else to do. They just in despair. So they take it out on their neighbors, take it out on their own children. So that's why we hear so much about the elite and the pedophile rings. It's because they're rich, so you can hear about them. But people in poverty, which is in the millions, you don't hear about them because they're not important in the eyes of the system. But once people in poverty starts having money through a freedom dividend, suddenly their news will become important, and suddenly you'll have a real assessment of what's going on in this world. Because everyone, in a capitalistic system, we've learned to only value people with money. So once you start giving everyone money, the value will suddenly become a much different thing, and news will become a much different thing, and actual reporting will become a different thing, and the actual stories that's happening in our neighborhoods, in our communities, can be reported, and people can actually take real actions. That is real solutions. Currently, everything we're hearing about is because of one or two things, and we want to implement policies and everything like a blanket solution. That's not going to work. So Andrew Yang is starting at the right place. And if you're a victim of rape, molestation, I understand you. I spent half of my high school life in deep conversations and even court battles and battles with the guys that rape the girls. I know what girls go through and what men go through. I mean, some of my friends was raped and molested, which is men. And I never found a quick answer or a solution in the current system. We do need a system change. And that system change is a twist system change. And that's a freedom dividend. That is a real change that will flip the value of life. Once people become more important, and not money more important, we can tackle real problems. I went to 2 court cases with 2 girls that was raped, and they had to take my phone because the boyfriends had raped them or the guys had raped them, threatened me on my phone because I confronted them. So my phone had to go to court with all these messages where I got threatened because I know the whole story. I was informed as it happens. You know, it just happened. A girl just got raped, and boom, there's the news on my phone. And guess what happened? Not one of those guys went to jail or got any penalty. Because the system we live in is so corrupt. And Andrew Yang has got all these anti-corruption policies, which needs to be implemented. It's a start, better than what you got now. That's guaranteed. So it's going to be a lot of things you have to twist in the system to change anything. And in the meantime, unfortunately, we live in a system that is like a web, where everyone is still trapped in little pockets, where rape, molestation, domestic violence and abuse, all of this is happening right now. It's not happening tomorrow. It's not happening on the news when you see it. There's children being raped and molested right now, and women and men and boys and girls. It's happening right now. There isn't something you can do just like that to stop all of that. If we want to truly solve these problems, it's going to be a time-based solution. And we have to be able to stick it through and stick to the commitment to solve these problems in a physical, practical way that makes sense. If we're going to try and just send anyone to jail, you're not solving any problem. If you're just going to try and hang everyone, you're not solving any problem. That's not going to be a solution everyone wants. It might be a solution everyone wants to hear, but it's not going to solve it. It has to be a mental, a physical, and a spiritual solution. And that starts by taking care of every person, valuing every person. Freedom dividend. All right, guys, it's been a long one, 31:37. I'm going to say goodbye. I have so much to share on this. I know I'm actually overwhelmed with all my memories coming back, all my experiences coming back from the past, and all the things I've been through, that I don't even know where to go. And with Andrew Yang posing this, I'm like, yes, yes. Let's do this. Thank you very much.